Master students, my name is JVN's Dr. Neeraj Bholia, Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Science, Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. So today we are going to discuss a topic that is concept of patterns. So this belongs to the subject behavioral science, and in the previous lectures we have discussed the ethology, the animal behavior, what is animal behavior, what are various types of the animal behavior. Now what is the concept of patterns of the animal behavior? Means we have categorized the uh, uh, animal behavior into two broad category, but what is the concept behind that? Okay, so pattern is common patterns, or the behavior are exhibited by many species. Means pattern means a common thing that is performed by each and every animal, that is known as the pattern. Sometimes we follow some specific types of the pattern, so that is the pattern, because we do not have any change in that, we copy that, behave as it is, so that is known as the patterns. So we the animals accomplish these basic goals, including communication behavior, including territorial behavior, including dispersal behavior, including social behavior. Okay, so these types of the common patterns are followed by the animals. So these patterns have categorized into two broad category. One, as we have discussed, the instinctual, or you can say innate, or you can say fixed action, or you can say instinctive, or you can say inborn behavior. So the second type is the learned behavior. Okay, so we have discussed that in the innate behavior, they are need not to be learned. So if someone is not learning any behavior, then why it is performing the same pattern? So what is the logic behind that? Okay, so because they are genetically fixed. Okay, so innate behaviors are genetically inherited characteristics. Okay, and some patterns the animal show just after birth, and some innate patterns animal show later in their lifetime. So the because the development, they develop along with the developing nervous system. Okay, so the information is there in their genetic makeup, but the information will be expressed when their nervous system will be fully developed with their age. Okay, so the behavior which does not require learning or the practice, but which appears spontaneously at the first instance of when it is needed, are known as the instinctual behavior or the innate behavior. So now we can better understand it by having some examples. Okay, so for example, the feeding pattern. No, the parental care is not learned. Okay, the singing pattern of the birds, the wings cleaning by the birds, the territory behavior, the aggression patterns. Okay, the construction of webs by the spiders, that do not learn, they do not learn. Okay, they make the vibes spontaneously when they need. Okay, construction of nest by the birds. Okay, so these are the examples of the innate or the instinctual behavior. Again, there are different patterns or different types of the innate behavior. So you can say the patterns, or you can say the types. Okay, so in the instinctive behavior, we have studied that the agonistic behavior is there. Agonistic, what is agonistic behavior? We have already discussed the agonistic behavior. Yes, so they that are the behavioral adjustments in place of the fighting. Okay, adaptive significance to reduce the conflict and avoiding the fighting, like attack, escape, threat, defense, appeasement. Okay, so these are the agonistic behaviors. Second is the uh, dominance status. Okay, so this is status is again our innate behavior. So there are packing order in the groups of the animals, and they make them they have the status preferences for who have the most aggressive patterns, who have the most aggression, which will be put in the first order, and the lower categories of the animals are put in the lower status. Territorial behavior again is it is the innate or a innate behavior. Okay, then altruistic behavior is there. Okay, so we have already studied what is the altruistic behavior, you know, altruistic behavior. So in the altruistic behavior, one organism put itself in risk or the personal disadvantage for the good of the other animals, other members of the same species or the related species. And the logic we have already discussed, that the kin selection means they save their genes, because either they will save the members of the same species, or if the other species, then that will be related species, closely related species. Okay, so that is the altruistic behavior. So altruistic behavior also a innate behavior, right? So after that, the patterns of the uh, learned behavior also we have discussed, an adaptive change in individual behavior as the result of the experience. So what is learned behavior? Learned behavior is an adaptive change. The animal have adapted themselves, and they in adapted themselves, and they behave that adaptation in their behavior, individual behavior, as a result of experience. Means they have the experience now. Okay, then they, after the experience, their behavior will be changed. So example, what is the example? So for example, in the absence of the predators, the porcupines simply do not show the spines. You know the porcupines is an animal, small animal, and it have the spines on its surface, but it do not show the spines in the absence of predator. However, when the individual are exposed to the predators, they show the spines relatively quickly. So that is the after the experience, or they learn the that behavior. Okay, so what are the example of the learned behavior? The habituation is there, associative learning is there, latent and exploratory learning is there. Okay, so what is the habituation? Habituation is um, the behavior that animal learns, that in the uh, absence of the relevant stimuli, there is no need to behave or react to something. Okay, so the stimulus without reward or punishment. So this is the relevance for any animal. Okay, if it is giving it having some reward, that is significant for that. If it is having some punishment, that is also significant for that. Except these two things, there is no relevancy, there is no significance for the animal. Okay, so the stimulus without reward or the punishment, there is no need to respond. Okay, so animal learns no not to react or not to respond to the irrelevant stimuli, that is the habituation. Okay, then associative learning means the animals learn to associate the things, one thing with second thing. Means if one thing is happening, then probably the second thing will be happening. Okay, so that is the associative learning. Then in the learned behavior, the exploratory learning is there, exploratory learning or the latent learning. So what is that? Means the animal explore the wild, explore the environment in their lifetime, and they learn something that are not required to at that time exactly, but that may be required in their future life. So that's why they are latent. Okay, that's why we call it latent. So these were the uh, learned behavior. Again, the insight learning is also there, the imprinting is also there. Okay, so what is the insight learning? So insight learning is the it is based on the information previously learned by other behavioral activities, and they apply in somewhat other places. So that is the insight learning. Okay, so next is the imprinting. Imprinting included in which category? Is it innate or the learned? So it have the both component, because it is learned during some receptive periods. So imprinting is an innate behavior. Okay, because it cannot be learned at any time point in their lifetime. Okay, so this is the innate, but the recognition of the object is learned. Okay, so it is an learned behavior. So it is innate, as it cannot occur anytime during the life of an animal, but it is seen only during a particular period called the critical or the sensitive period. So it have both the component, the innate component and the learned component. Okay, so again there is some types of innate behaviors, means the concepts of the innate behaviors. So there are some different types of the innate or stereotypic behavior, like we can say the taxis, the kinesis, the reflexes, and the instincts. So what is that terms? What is taxis? So taxis, you have I think you have already heard about the phototaxic taxis, or chemotaxis, or thermotaxis. Okay, so what is taxis? Taxis is the simplest type of the innate or the stereotype behavior. So it is an orientation of an animal directed either towards or away in response to the source of stimulus. Okay, so it is orientation is towards the stimulus is called the positive taxis, and if it is away from the stimulus, so it is known as the negative taxis. So taxes are usually named after the stimuli. Hence, there are, if it is from the photons or light, it is known as the phototaxic. If it is for some chemicals, then it is known as the chemotaxis. If it is for temperature, it is known as the thermotaxis. Okay, so plant or animal that move towards light show positive phototaxis. So certain burrowing animals like rodents or planaria that more away from the source of light exhibit the negative phototaxis. Okay, so this was about the taxis. Then kinesis is also there. Okay, kinesis, what is it? Is a type of locomotory behavior in relation to source of the stimulus. So the animal respond to the variation in the intensity of the stimulus and not the source of direction of the stimulus. So to respond to such stimulus, the animal only requires sense organs sensitive to the variation in the stimulus intensity. Okay, so that is the kinesis. Then reflex, what is that? So a simple movement of a part of the animal in response to stimuli is called the reflex. Okay, so it is a quick, innate, and immediate response of a part of the body to the external or internal stimulus, so which has great adaptive and survival values of to the organism. Okay, so reflexes are inherited and unlearned behavior found in all members of the species. So for example, if you are sitting in a room where is very low light, and you immediately comes to the sunny area, then you close your eyes immediately. Okay, if you do not want, then also you will be you have some because stimulus is there, light is there, so some reflex movement will be there. and your eyes will be closed. Okay, so that is the reflex. So next is the instinct. So instinct is the most complex type of stereotype behavior, which is unlearned, unpredictable, and genetically controlled, and specific species, and it is in response to a sign or the leisure stimuli. Of all the stereotype behavior, instincts are the most fascinating to study. So what is the example? Example is the building of the nest by birds, singing to attract the other sex, and territorial behavior, the migrational behavior, parental care are the example of the instinct behavior. Okay, so that was all about the types of the concept of the um, concept of the animal behavior, okay, or concept of the learning. So if you have any doubt or any query, you can write in the comment box, and the concept of patterns, I think it is very much clear. And again, if you have any doubt, you can write. Okay, so I will cure that. I will reply to your questions. And this session is powered by Digital Version 2, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Thank you.